The best moment to answer your buyer's question really is the moment that they ask it from you. Not 3 hours later, not after your appointment, not when you go back on your desk and sit at your computer.
And that's why we actually wrote this video today, because we're going to talk about the Cloud phone app on our phones. And basically that's the kind of the entire purpose of this, and how we can use our skills that we build at home, 6 to 8 deals, and you want to grow your business. And really, that's really what this is, because relationships are about building and trusting, and they need to trust you, and you need to give those answers immediately.
Exactly. Now for today, we wanted to really talk about that every one of this basically is the same idea. Why? Because client asks something or pushback on something that they heard, could be from the family, could be friends or anybody, because they get nervous when they want to buy a house. And we answer it with a skill that we build exactly that we can answer this question, not a generic answer or not just guessing at the moment.
Now, ChatGPT is going to give you an answer that might, or Cloud, or any of the chatting skill agents, Gemini, whatever one you use, Grok. It sounds right, but with the skill, you're actually getting to pull the records right away and get the right answer for them at the time that they're asking you. And that is really the difference between running a Cloud on dispatch versus running the chat. And this makes it more powerful in the chatbot, because you're standing in front of the client. You can then answer their questions right there while you're standing in the room with them and say, let me find out. And then you ask the question, you dispatch it to your computer, and then the computer gives you back the answer. And this is before you've ever run a contract or anything like that. Really, that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about kind of questions that we get asked and how we've built that skill.
Exactly. Therefore, buyers all the time ask when you're touring a home with them, for example, who owns this place, why they're moving out, or what happens, how long they own this house. And sometimes those questions could be very straight question, and you have answer because you have your app with you, for example, whatever multi-listing that you use, and you can answer. But sometimes the question could be not very straight, and you need to do some deep research about it.
And those, honestly, the government websites where we look up deeds can be clunky. So basically, having an app on your phone that already knows how to read the deeds, because you've already pre-programmed it. When we talked about deeds last time was to show you how to build a skill, but when you're out there on the go and someone asks you, well, when did they buy this home? And they buy it 6 months ago, they buy it 5 years ago. This will be just, hey, when did they buy this home at this address? And then suddenly your dispatch is going to your skill, and that skill is going on record saying they bought this house at such and such date, and you didn't have to go to the government website, which can be clunky. You fired it in a conversation, and you got the real answer on your skill of the deeds. What about another one?
Not about another one. This is the HOA situation.
Yeah.
No, anyone touring a place, for example, any buyer with a homeowner association that community, for example, has a HOA, asks some version of the same thing. What is the actually cost? And can they rent it someday if they needed to do that? There's so many questions and different variations that they can ask you. And sometimes it comes even in the form of objection instead.
Like I've heard HOA is very restrictive. I don't want anybody to tell me what to do with my property. Why are the dues always higher? What are the dues going up? So a lot of listings have HOAs, and those, at least in our area, most new communities even have HOAs. There's a management company, but management company can change. Dues can go up, and nobody's necessarily checking all the time. So what we have, a second skill that I have running just for HOAs, when you're running out and about, and you can go to dispatch and say, hey, what are the current dues and rental situations on the HOA in this community I'm in, 123 Main Street. Look up the community, tell me the HOA restrictions that you can find. And now it's finding the HOA documents, meaning the objections I can answer on the go, instead of saying I have to get home and read the HOA docs immediately. So it can be pulling up those docs for you on the fly. And it's a real skill, because this is a difference between asking a chatbot and saying probably versus getting a skill that can really pull the data because you've told it how to get to that data, and now you have that data at your fingertips when you need it, when you're talking to them.
Exactly. No, another scenario is changing nearby, and I'm sure that you faced this question many times, because some of the home buyers who have done their homework, they might ask you during the touring, they might ask you what is about to change near this house or this area, like a project, like a road widening, new construction, if there's an open field behind of it. Therefore, they might ask those questions because they did some research, or they were enough curious to ask people in their family that they had this scenario to be curious about it.
Or maybe it's just because you live in an area like us where there's a lot of construction that's just being done, so they need to know what construction is being done in that area. So I have a skill that we've also built on record where it can pull the transportation information, and I can get real road projects. I can also follow the development news from the government, from the meetings of the town, from the development websites on the town. And that way, when I'm actually talking to people out in the skill, I have a skill to pull that information, so I can say I'm at 123 Main Street, and it can do a trajectory of where those things are to me because it has Google Maps. So it can now tell me where those road constructions, where that new construction home might be. So it can actually then pull the answer, so I can give that answer when I'm standing in that room.
Exactly. Another scenario that wasn't actually permitted. And standing, for example, if you're standing in a renovated room, home buyers, they might ask you a practical version of a real concern. Was this addition to the home actually permitted? Is something that could come back to bite them later? This is one of the questions that we need to be able to answer. It's not just a guess. And it's not just an opinion that we might have at the time when they're asking that question.
Now, I've only gotten this question once. I'm going to give you a real story. I walked into a house and the roof was kind of missing in the middle of the house. And instead they had built this tree, and the tree went down to the floor, to the first floor of the house. It was a crazy scenario. And so that was a question when I was showing my buyers, like, is this tree and this thing going on even permitted? The answer is no, it wasn't permitted. But really having a skill on my phone to be able to pull up that permit and say, no, this house is not permitted. Nobody allows you to cut a hole in your roof and call it a house still when you have because you wanted to build a tree sanctuary in your basement, or we don't have basements, but first floor, which was really a real thing I saw in our area. So having a skill that can fire from my phone to pull up with the permits, again, by saying what my permits are in my area. These are all different things. You notice how I'm saying it? Because these are things that Zillow can't answer for them. This is something that they have to actually do some research on. So things that we research all the time for our clients, now I have a skill to pull my research for me, and I can be out and about by having that skill be able to run by dispatching it on my phone, which is a great thing.
Exactly. Or there might be another question, is there any lien on this property? And buyers sometimes ask this one more bluntly than others, especially if something about the sales that feels rushed. For example, is there anything owed against this property that could hold up my closing? And that is, again, is not a guess either. And that is what we need to looking at all the public record system.
Right, and that's an information. We're not telling you we should be lawyers in that scenario, but really by forearming your clients if there is a question like this seems sketchy, by pulling a neighbor up and saying, hey, let's look this up to say, is this a sketchy deal or is this a good deal, or are they in a rush because of this? And then we have to be in a rush too because we want to do it before this. All of this is important to know. This way it's hitting our timelines and hitting the events that you want to know. So what's the skill we're going to build next? The answer is we have no idea, because that's the amazing opportunity of this. Buyers ask tons of questions to us all the time, and the answers are out there, and we have to find them all the time. These are just ones that I've done because these are questions we've had to answer many times, but maybe there's another one that comes up and I have to build another skill. But really having complaints for a type of property, municipal records, these are things that the general websites will never be able to give, and that's why we have skills that we build in Claude Code, because having a real question and being able to pull the records on the fly means that you are now working faster than most people, because now you're the one that can give the answers because you can pull this up right away. And so you're not just using your brain, you've actually used your brain to build a skill to actually be able to answer those real-time questions in public.
Exactly. Therefore, that's why you needed that cloud to be downloaded right on your phone.
Right.
And it makes everything is possible, especially if you made that the skills that my wife talking about, because it's not a browser that you need to remember to open, or not desktop that sitting on it when you are in front of the client. Therefore, this gives you another opportunity that on fly you can answer questions that many people, they need to ponder and do research about it to get to that point to be able to give the good answer to those buyers.
And anytime you get asked enough questions enough times, you know how to research something, this is a skill. So you want to make sure that these skills are built. And these skills are things that ChatGPT in a chat, Gemini, Cloud, Perplexity, when you're using chat mode, won't be able to pull up right away because it's going to flounder, it's going to have to do some research, it's going to have to kind of move around in order to get that if you're using an agentic system. But by having a skill and being able to answer it on the fly when you just dispatch your computer and say, run this and get me the information on HOA, then it's going to be able to fire back and you are now ahead of the game with everybody else. And that's what I'm saying. It's not a support ticket. It's not someone else's queue. You're just running a skill. And the more skills you have, and this is just a few of them out of 100 that I have, and I'll probably build 100 more. So I can't wait to talk about more Claude Code with you. It's what I do all the time. I know deeds sound boring, but deeds are important to our job, and that's why it's important to be able to answer these questions. And it's a boring thing to discuss, but it's a great thing to discuss because it's our jobs.
We are Alan Victoria Kinder, EXP Icon agent with EXP Realty, and we are here to help you to level up your business with automation. And we are excited every week to share with you new development, new idea. Please go to the description below, book an appointment with us with Alan Victoria.
Or at least go to GitHub and get my free folder where you can actually see how I do listing descriptions. It's one of many, many things that you